Good evening. Being 7 p.m., I'll call to order the McHenry County Board regular meeting of July 18th, 2023. And Ms. Althoff will lead us in the pledge tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for our invocation this evening, we have Pastor Karen Surson from Fox River Grove Methodist Church.
Retired.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is this your last hurrah?
No, I retired last time when I was here last month. So anyway, yeah, I guess I'm cheap, huh? I don't know what to say. It is great to be here again with all of you this evening. And I understand that as you stand here, no one really understands the challenges and the things that people face. But you, the board, the people that you represent, the people that are here, you all have challenges and issues that you face, and you carry that burden with you. But as we stand here tonight, I want to remind you, and you should remind yourselves, that you can't do it alone. That it is through learning and listening and sharing of insights that we all gain wisdom. And it is out of asking curious questions. Not questions out of condemnation, not questions to make yourselves look great, but curious questions that will help us to gain wisdom and insight. Because together, we can make it better. So I want to remind you of all of that. I also want to say to all of you as you stand here, and I'm looking around at this good-looking group of people, you look like you smell pretty good, cleaned up. You're blessed. You got a lot of stuff. You are. So I want to remind you of that. I want to remind you can't do it alone, but it's through collaboration that it has worked before and it will work again if we work together. Remember that. Remember. Okay? I want you to understand that you cannot make this county perfect because none of you are perfect. You can't make the state perfect, make the paperwork go away. You can't. You can't make this world perfect, nor can you take this county back to a point in time where everybody thought it was perfect then. You guys all hear those stories. It was perfect in wherever, 1902. Right, those people are dead, but anyway. It doesn't make sense. But tonight, I want you to see hope, if you can, and to be hopeful people. And to understand that it is through hopefulness that you can make it better. You can make this county better, make the state better, and maybe make the world better for some. So be hopeful people tonight as you meet. May you also be well in mind, body, soul, and spirit. And tonight, may you also find rest. Amen and amen. Bye-bye.
Okay, clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Pam Althoff. Carolyn Campbell.
Here.
Gottemauer. Terry Greeno. Eric Hendricks. Carl Kaminsky. James Kearns. Matthew Kunkel. Teresa Meshes.
Here.
Lou Ness.
Here.
John Reiner.
Here.
Excuse me. Brian Sager.
Here.
Michael Shorten.
Here.
Michael Scala.
Present.
Larry Smith. Gloria Van Hoff.
Here.
Tracy Von Bergen.
Here.
Kelly Waggoner.
Here.
15 present, not counting Mr. Short.
Okay, having a quorum, I'll entertain a motion to allow Mr. Shorten to attend remotely. Ms. Altoff, seconded by Ms. Von Bergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Welcome, Mr. Shorten. Move on to item number 5. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Scala, seconded by Mr. Kaminsky. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of previous meetings. Ms. Meshes, seconded by Ms. Waggoner. Any discussion or changes? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Against? Motion carries. Good evening. This morning, the Illinois Supreme Court determined that the Pretrial Fairness Act, also known as the Safety Act, was constitutional despite the lawsuits of 65 state's attorneys across the state of Illinois. I am disappointed by this ruling and its potential to put criminals back on the streets, thus endangering the residents of our community and making the jobs of prosecutors, judges, and police more difficult. In December, the court put a stay on the implementation of the Pretrial Fairness Act. The court's opinion set this stay to expire in 60 days, and our courts, the 22nd Judicial Circuit here in McHenry County, have already leapt into action preparing for the transition to a justice system without cash bail. I'm grateful for their diligence and dedication to the rule of law and for their making the best of a difficult situation. I would also like to give our thanks to State's Attorney Patrick Keneally for defending the Constitution of the state of Illinois and for protecting the people of McHenry County. He's already given assurances that his office will do everything in its power to keep dangerous offenders behind bars and employ measures such as electronic monitoring to protect the public. On a happier note, I would like to give my heartfelt thanks to the McHenry County Farm Bureau for organizing an eye-opening tour to two local farms last night, Vanderstappen Farm and Von Bergen's Country Market. My colleagues on the county board and I had the opportunity to learn about the various safeguards our dairy and beef farmers employ to ensure that our families receive the safest and highest quality foods to enjoy. We also heard from our vegetable farmers who educated us on the flooding issues that impact not just our communities along the Fox River, but our farms and residential subdivisions as well. After visiting with our farmers, I am more impressed with their hard work and contributions to our local economy than ever before. I'm also pleased to report that for the third straight year, McHenry County has earned the prestigious Triple Crown Medallion from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for winning all 3 of its financial reporting awards for a single fiscal year. McHenry County is one of only about 300 governments this year to receive the Triple Crown. That in itself is a tremendous achievement, but being a 3-time winner is a testament to our top-notch financial reporting and our dedication to open and transparent budgeting. This wouldn't have been possible without CFO Carrie Weiss and her talented and dedicated staff, so congratulations to them and thank you. On Tuesday, July 11th, I was interviewed by the R1 Regional Planning Council regarding the economic strengths of McHenry County as part of an application the council is putting together for a federal grant. It was my pleasure to take the time to help, and I'm hopeful that the council will secure the funding that they're seeking. And finally, this evening, Paula Jensen will be submitting her resignation as our liaison to the McHenry County Mental Health Board at the end of this month on account of her moving out of state. I'd like to thank her for her service to McHenry County, not just as our liaison, but as a former county board member. Paula was elected to the county board in 2008, and since then she has committed herself to promoting various public health and mental health causes for the benefit of our residents. But what I think distinguished Paula the most was her unwavering support for McHenry County's seniors. For years, she served as the chair of the Senior Services Grant Commission and advocated for the creation of a memory care unit at Valley High. And when the county board created the Valley High Operating Committee, Paula was appointed as the committee's first chairperson. And I knew her leadership would help lay the foundation for our work on the Valley High Memory Care Unit. When Paula chose not to run for re-election 2 years ago, I knew we couldn't let her go easily, and I was honored to appoint her to the Mental Health Board, where she continued her service to the county. While it will be difficult to find someone to fill her shoes, I intend to nominate her successor as quickly as possible so that the Mental Health Board will not be left shorthanded. Thank you for your service, Paula, and enjoy this next chapter in your life. You've earned it. And that concludes my report. Do any members have comments tonight? Ms. Ness?
I wanted to share with the board that Suzanne Hoban, who is our executive director of the Family Health Partnership and a leader in healthcare for the underinsured and uninsured in our county, opening the first healthcare clinic. Her husband died suddenly of a heart attack on Friday morning. It was completely unexpected. Suzanne lives in my district, though her husband, John, was a volunteer and a judge and took care of the neighbor's kids and a gardener and a cyclist. I just could go on and on. He was a remarkable man. He went for a bike ride and had a massive heart attack. And I wanted to recognize what a loss that is for her and for our community.
Mr. Kaminsky?
I'd like to take a moment to thank a trustee from McHenry Township, Mr. Yeager. He saw a problem at the Township Senior Center, took it and took upon himself to do something about it. He knew some seniors have COPD, respiratory problems, heart problems. His answer may be a bit different and a little weird, but it seems to be working. His trick to helping them out was to teach him how to play an harmonic. He himself had to use one of those little blow tubes. Well, we all know that they last about 10 seconds or so, and back in the drawer they go. He started a class at the township and showed folks how to play the harmonic and also gave them one. It gets your lungs working by breathing in and out, and it helps your lung muscle get more oxygen to your heart. The end result, healthier folks, and helping to have less demand on our healthcare system. A week ago, he had a whole page write-up in the local newspaper. Since he started teaching his class, it's been increasing in attendance. Hats off to one of our very own trustees in McHenry, Mr. Yeager, for making a difference and getting folks healthier in our county. Thank you.
Ms. Waggoner?
Thank you, Chairman. First, I want to say thanks to the McHenry County Farm Bureau for the tour yesterday and for to the Vanderstoppens and Von Bergens. Thank you. The dinner was wonderful, and the first time I'd had fried pickles, so it was very good. There's a lot of controversial items happening in our county right now and in the municipalities, and most of them have to do with zoning. So I want to bring attention to, actually, we're going to be voting on a solar farm this evening, and I just want to talk about what's going on our Earth right now. According to the article in New York Times today, the Earth has warmed more than 2 degrees since the 19th century. And if we don't stop burning oil, gas, and coal, the Earth's temperature is going to continue to increase. There's a significant economic impact when our Earth's temperature increases. We have more severe weather events, higher temperatures, increased snowfall, as odd as that sounds. And just think about the tornadoes that have hit around Chicagoland lately. So short-term things that could happen are closure of tourist sites, which are actually happening in Europe right now. People will not be able to dine outdoors anymore, and the rise of electricity use for the air conditioning, which of course all of these are economic. Then you think of long-term. We have fires, floods, droughts. All of these cause government spending. So we're increasing public spending on the damaged infrastructure, and we're providing subsidies for relief. It could also cause tax revenues to decrease. And then we think about our farmers. Extreme temperatures damage crops, reduce labor productivity, raise mortality rates, and disrupt global trade and dampen investments. So actually, I had written this earlier today. On the way here, I was listening to the radio, and Miami-Dade County and various cities in Europe are now appointing chief heat officers. Chief heat officers, say that 5 times. Their job is to educate, plan, and problem solve due to the extreme heat in their area. So this is showing what a big problem this is around our world. So we're going to vote on a solar farm. I understand that they're not particularly attractive, and the farmers are worried about their farmland, but if we don't stop or reduce the emissions from burning fossil fuels, we're going to end up with lower crop yields and higher costs overall. So please, we can't put our head in the sand. The effects of climate change and the increase in temperature is not going away, and I urge people to vote yes for the solar farm. Thank you.
Dr. Sager?
Yes, I want to follow up a little bit with regards to what my colleague Lou Ness indicated. It's certainly with heavy heart that those of us in District 7 and frankly in the county at large recognize the passing of John Hoban and express our sincere condolences to his wife, Suzanne Hoban. Suzanne and John have been truly strong contributing members of the larger community for many, many years. Many of you know that Suzanne is on the Board of Trustees at McHenry County College, and as Lou indicated, she was the founder, really, of the Family Health Partnership Clinic. But John has been a true, steadfast member of our community of Woodstock and certainly larger county. And as you think about the contributions that people make, they are many and numerous in volume, but perhaps that word steadfast is one of the best words that you can use to describe an individual. It simply means that an individual is firm in purpose and in faith and resolution and is a person of goodwill. And so I want to uphold John Hoban and his family at this time as we remember John as a true, steadfast member of this larger community. Thank you.
Ms. Van Hoff?
Thank you, Chairman. I was not on the board on 12/26/2021, but many of my fellow members were. And I went back and found an article because I was curious about solar farms as well. So on 12/26/2021, there was an article published in the Northwest Herald about a solar farm that was approved in Riley Township. This board voted unanimously to approve that. At that time, we had 24 members on the board. I don't know how many of our members were present at that meeting, but it was a unanimous vote to approve it. And this solar farm was going to supply 300 megawatts on 2,000 acres. Construction was scheduled to start in the spring of 2022. Operations were scheduled to begin in 2023. The construction of this would employ 300, it would have 300 construction jobs. Once it was up and running, there would be 4 to 7 people. The local revenue, the local tax revenue, one of the things I get from people, and I'm sure many of my other members do as well when they're knocking on doors, is why are my taxes so high in McHenry County, and what can I do about that? And we have this question all the time, and one of the things that we know is that a huge part of that tax bill is the school districts. So I thought that it was really interesting that over the 35-year lifespan of this solar farm, it was projected to generate $40.3 million in local tax revenue, and $16.8 million of that would go to the Riley School District. Now, that's a big chunk of money. Now, when this farm was being approved by our board, we had a lot of support for that in the community. One person, Cynthia Canner from the Environmental Defenders, said that this was a great start. This was a good thing that we were doing to eliminate carbon emissions. We also, CJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that was also imposed in 2021, they require coal, oil, and natural gas electricity providers in Illinois to eliminate carbon emissions by 2045. So this was applauded as a really good step in that direction as well. Also, Ted Ersky, who is an earth science teacher at McHenry County College, teaches a course on renewable energy. He applauded this solar farm that was approved unanimously by this board. The Woodstock City Council also gave approval to extend a permit to build a solar farm, the solar farm that is existing near Lily Pond Road and 14, to extend that, and this farm now powers 150 homes. So I want to let you know that solar energy does work, and it will help us to get nearer to our goal of eliminating emissions, greenhouse emissions. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you very much.
Ms. Von Bergen?
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to thank Paula for her service. You really have accomplished a lot of wonderful, great things for a lot of people. And it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and you will be greatly missed. Thank you, Paula.
Okay, seeing no further member comments, we'll move on to special recognition, item 9A. We do have a special guest today, State Representative Suzanne Ness, who will be presenting a proclamation, H.R. 0126, honoring Edward John Buss, and this was voted on in the Illinois General Assembly earlier this year. Come on up.
Well, good evening, Chairman Bueller, Clerk Theriot, and my former fellow board members. It's great to be here tonight in front of all of you. I was privileged enough to be in the House of Representatives at the time and to be able to do a resolution, which I'm going to read first, and then I'll give a few remarks. So, House Resolution number 126. Whereas the members of Illinois House of Representatives are saddened to learn of the death of Edward John Ed Buss of McHenry, who passed away on February 23rd, 2023. And whereas Ed Buss was born in McHenry to Edward Sr. and Ella Buss on April 17th, 1929. He excelled in academics and athletics in his youth. He married Joan Teresa in May 1950. And whereas Ed Buss took over the business founded by his father, Buss Ford, at the age of 18 and became a successful businessman. Although he rarely sold a car himself at the dealership, he would take care of problems and give people rides home when their cars were being serviced. His sons joined the business in the 1970s, and one of his grandsons now runs it. And whereas Ed Buss started his political life in April 1963, when he was just 33 years old, and ran as an independent for the McHenry County Board. He served on the board for 25 years and was instrumental in the building of the Charles Miller Road and Bridge. And whereas Ed Buss was a civic-minded individual, he coached youth baseball, basketball, and football. A lifetime supporter and member of the board for 12 years, he was honored with an induction into the Hall of Fame of the McHenry Little League Association. And whereas Ed Buss's fondest memories were spent at the McHenry Country Club, where he won 13 club championships and 13 senior club championships, and boasted a best round of 62. He was on the Country Club Board of Directors for 12 years and served as president for 4 years. And whereas Ed Buss and Joan were members of St. Mary's Church in McHenry for their entire married life, in retirement he enjoyed playing the stock market and wintering in their beautiful home in Surprise, Arizona. And whereas Ed Buss was preceded in death by his wife of 72 years, Joan, his parents, his grandson Ryan, his sisters Betty, and his brother Bernie. And whereas Ed Buss is survived by his children, Judy Dobner, Bonnie Borkman, Patricia Schatz, Stephen Buss, and Robert Buss. and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 103rd General Assembly of the State of Illinois that we mourn the passing of Edward John Ed Buss and extend our sincere condolences to his family, friends, and all who knew and loved him. And be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to the family of Ed Buss as an expression of our deepest sympathy. And so I would also like to say tonight to members of the county board, members of the public, and most importantly, to the family of Ed Buss, his son Bob is here tonight with his wife Ann. I want to say that while I never had the chance to work or to meet your dad, I am certainly grateful for the contributions he has made to McHenry County. And I know that I am benefiting from that contribution as well. I enjoyed learning more about him as I worked on this resolution. What stood out to me the most was Ed's commitment to family and community. It isn't enough to say that you want something to be better, but to put action behind those words, that's really what matters. I especially appreciate the story about how Ed rarely sold cars, which is ironic given that politicians are often compared to car salesmen. Yet Ed rose above that and focused on service, taking care of problems and giving people rides when their cars were being worked on. To me, that is what stands out, and that is what made him a successful public servant and a role model to all of us. So I want to say thank you to this board for recognizing and acknowledging the contributions of Ed Buss, and to the family for allowing us to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I very much appreciate it.
And thank all of you. And you know the old man, oh my goodness. Between El Jordan, okay, Mrs. Majewski, Tom Eamon. Yes, I heard some disagreements, but they got stuff done. And they all cared, just like you people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 9B. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proclamation honoring Carol Waggoner in the McHenry County Department of Health. Ms. Altoff, seconded by Ms. Campbell, and Ms. Altoff will read the proclamation. Oops, I got you. Give me a second.
Okay. Thank you. And I first have to note that I actually was one of those people that Mr. Buss drove home. I have not owned any car but a bus forward since I moved to McHenry in 1991. So, excellent. And Carol, can I ask you maybe to stand and introduce all of your wonderful colleagues and friends that are here with you tonight from the department,
Do you want
please?
to step over to a mic?
And then I'll read the proclamation, because I will have thoroughly embarrassed you.
Thank you. Thank you for this honor and recognition tonight, and I'm really happy to have with us tonight, sitting in the front row there, is Sue Reinhardt, and she is one of the wonderful MRC volunteers that I could not do programs without, and she's just helped me so much. And Susan Karras is our nursing director, and she has come tonight, and she has been very supportive of all the programs that I've done, and it's been a joy working with her. And Chrissy Wasson is sitting in the bright pink beside Susan, and she is in charge of the MRC volunteers, and that stands for Medical Reserve Corps Volunteers. And I was surprised they came tonight, and I feel really lucky to be here, so thank you.
Whereas Carol Waggoner has been an employee of the McHenry County Department of Health as a public health nurse for over 9 years. And whereas Carol Waggoner earned her Certified Diabetes Care and Education Specialist certification with over 1,000 hours of providing diabetes care and education. And whereas, as a public health nurse, Carol has led county programs such as the Take Charge of Your Diabetes that has provided over 430 McHenry County residents with skills and the tools for self-management and prevention of diabetes. And whereas Carol has dedicated much of her career at the McHenry County Department of Health to bringing our community together to provide screenings and education around the importance of diabetes management and prevention. And whereas, as a result of Carol's hard work and dedication, McHenry County Department of Health has been recognized by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as having an accredited diabetes prevention program. And now therefore be it proclaimed by this county board of McHenry County, Illinois, that the members of the board congratulate Carol Waggoner on her outstanding service to our community and her honor as one of the Shaw Media McHenry County's 2023 Women of Distinction. And be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread upon the records of McHenry County Board, and that the county clerk is authorized to distribute certified copies to the county administrator and the McHenry County Board of Health as a sign of our respect and esteem. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Another picture?
You and with the chairman and
Yes.
Is the lens cover off?
if you can also have those in here from your meeting, that'd be wonderful. Sure know how to get my going. All right, say lens covers, everybody. Thank you so much.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is the zoning petitions. Do any members have items they'd like removed from the zoning consent agenda?
I do.
Mr. Kearns, sorry.
10A2.
Okay, Mr. Reinert,
I was just.
just 10A2? Okay. Seeing no others? Mr. Scala?
I was just gonna make a motion.
You make a motion to, or adopt the routine consent agenda?
Yes, so minus 10A2.
Minus 10A2. Second, Ms. Smeshes. Clerk, could you open the voting, please? Have all voted who wish?
Technical issue? We'll just put it in manually. Mr. Kearns, how would you like to be recorded? Yes. Mr. Shorten?
Mr. Shorten?
Mr. Shorten?
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 10A2, Mr. Kearns.
Make a motion.
Or entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Scala makes that motion, seconded by Ms. Campbell. And discussion, Mr. Kearns.
As for our Thursday cow, we talked about amending with conditions. Before all of you is a copy of the amendments. 1 through 3 are the same amendments that we added to the petitions from June of 2023, except for number 3, instead of 100%, it has 150% for the bonding. Items 4, 5, and 6 are the amendments requested by the city of Crystal Lake. And I would move to amend with those 6 amendments, those 6 items.
Okay. Do we have a second? Ms. Altoff, discussion on the amendment? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion carries. Back to the amended motion. Any further discussion? Mr. Reinert?
Yeah, I will not be changing my vote on this from my discussion from Thursday's COW. This particular one, I'd just like to remind everyone, or just mention to everyone, back 6 years ago when one of the early solar farms were brought through here, I think it was in McHenry or Johnsburg, and a lot of the neighbors didn't want it. I still supported it because I do believe in solar energy, but because the neighbors didn't want it, the board respected that and it didn't pass. This particular one is in the Crystal Lake watershed. That's the namesake of the town. There's a lot of things that impact this watershed. The rainwater that goes on this land, it regenerates into Crystal Lake within a year. When you drive on it, it compacts the soil, and the soil doesn't absorb water. So it runs off, and it doesn't get to help regenerate Crystal Lake. I do believe in, sustainable energy, but I also believe in water resources. I think on this one, I will still be sticking with the water resources of Crystal Lake, and I have not gotten one call saying, John, support this, please. I've only gotten calls saying, John, please, don't support this. So, thank you. That's about all I got to say, but I mean, if it was in somebody else's district and they really felt badly about it, I would hope that you would at least consider what I'm telling you tonight. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, could you open the voting, please?
It's open.
Voting is open. Have all voted who wish?
Mr. Kearns, how would you like to be recorded?
No.
Mr. Shorten, how would you like to be recorded?
No.
Motion carries. We will move on to public comment. Just a reminder, public comment is your opportunity to address the board. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. When the red light comes on in front of me, you would be asked to summarize your comments if you haven't finished already. First will be Dr. Paula Jensen.
I want to thank you for your kind words, Chairman. That was so nice, very generous. I wanted to come by this evening to see you all for one last time before leaving for my new home in Michigan. Since my retirement from the county board last fall, I've continued to serve as liaison to the Mental Health Board, which has been a great honor. And thank you for giving me that opportunity. And finally, I want you all to know that I'm leaving behind a great many friends here in McHenry County, and many of them are in this room tonight. I will miss you all. Thank you.
Ed Gogol.
Thank you, folks. My name is Ed Gogol. I live in the south end of Crystal Lake. That vote, I kind of laughed at it. I'm a relative newbie to Crystal Lake. I've lived here only a few years. And I've been at a certain number of county board meetings where there were some fireworks. So I'm pleasantly surprised that this controversial vote passed with such relative simplicity. I urge you all to support solar. You know, solar is the future. Solar is the future of economic development here in McHenry County. And a solar farm is about as benign an industrial use as you can get. It sits there, there's no noise, there's no moving parts. Once the panels are installed, they're just sitting there. It's not going to affect the runoff. And underneath the panels, you get a lot of habitat for animals. So it's a good thing. And I'd also like to urge you to keep an open mind on the bail reform thing. Dangerous criminals should be behind bars if they pose any kind of a threat to the community. That's what's in that law, and I think it's up to all of us to try to make sure that that potential of that law is upheld. If you're a danger to the community, if you're a danger to yourself, you should not be let out of jail. That's what that law says, pending trial, and we should make sure that that's what we get. Thank you very much.
Andy Breen.
Hi, my name is Andrew Breen. I'm Director of Prevention and Wellness Services for The Break in Crystal Lake, and I'm here to read a short statement on behalf of my agency and the Youth Empower Alliance asking for an increase in the mental health tax levy. Good evening. I stand before you today to address a critical issue that demands our attention and immediate action: the state of mental health resources in our county. It is with great concern that I urge you to allocate additional funds for mental health services. The well-being of our community is at stake, and we have a responsibility to provide adequate support to those in need. Mental health is an integral aspect of our overall well-being, impacting individuals, families, and communities alike. Sadly, we find ourselves in a situation where the demand for mental health services far, far exceeds the available resources. The consequences of this underfunding are severe and far-reaching, affecting the most vulnerable members of our society. First and foremost, our current mental health system is overburdened and struggling to meet the growing demand. Individuals in crisis are forced to wait excessively long periods for access to care, which can exacerbate their conditions and result in dire consequences. Our mental health professionals are stretched thin, facing heavy caseloads and limited resources, making it nearly impossible for them to deliver quality of care for our community members. Moreover, the lack of adequate funding for mental health resources perpetuates a cycle of crisis and emergency-based care. When individuals cannot access timely preventative services, they often reach a point of crisis, requiring costly emergency interventions. This not only places an immense strain on our healthcare system, but also puts a significant financial burden on our community as a whole. By increasing funding for mental health resources, we can break this cycle and invest in the well-being of our community. The benefits of such an investment are manyfold. We will be able to improve access to mental health services, ensuring that individuals in need can receive timely and appropriate care. This, in turn, will lead to better outcomes, reduced hospitalizations, and an overall improvement in the quality of life for those struggling with mental health issues. In conclusion, I implore you, esteemed members of the County Board, to recognize the urgent need for increased funding for mental health resources. By doing so, we will create a community that supports and uplifts its members in times of need. Let us be proactive, compassionate, and forward-thinking in addressing mental health issues. Our actions today will shape a healthier, more resilient, and inclusive community for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Don Mueller.
Good evening, Chairman Bueller, members of the board, our good staff, and I want to give a special thanks to Peter Austin and to Scott. Thank you for your efforts, and I do appreciate it, and I'll be speaking with you soon. and to the rest of the county staff, and also to we the people. Thank you for everyone for being here. I just wanted to take a few more minutes. I thought it would be a good idea to continue to introduce myself a little bit, especially since there are new folks here. There has been a lot of use of the word solar at this meeting and the last meeting, and that's kind of right up my alley, so I thought I should let folks know what I do. I am trained, again, as a space plasma physicist and solar radio astronomer and a Jovian radio astronomer, which means I listen to radio signals from Jupiter as well as from the sun. I study radio, microwave, X-ray, bursts from the sun and also from stars, both in our galaxy and outside. I have an interest in things magnetic, which is why my nickname Magneto Dawn on Twitter. That's where I get that from. And I study magnetars and neutron stars, magnetospheres, the Earth's magnetosphere, and the interaction of the sun with the Earth. And I study the explosions, the eruptions that occur on the sun. The reason I do that is because it's important to understand the impact of these eruptions on the sun and the ejections of solar plasma and the radio waves they emit and the very powerful bursts, the effect that they have on satellites. We have thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth, many with solar panels powering them. And we also have many spacecraft moving throughout the entire solar system, around the sun, and all parts of the solar system now. And I study how the eruptions on the sun affect satellite and spacecraft communications. When there's a big hiccup or a sneeze or a cough, the sun does all kinds of interesting things, and it spits, and sometimes it spits at the Earth. And when it spits at the Earth, it ejects a big cloud of plasma that goes through the interplanetary medium, flows over the Earth's magnetosphere, and some of those ions and electrons get sucked into the Earth's magnetosphere and spiral down towards our ionosphere. And when they hit the ionosphere in our polar regions, that helps to create the northern lights and the southern lights, which are very beautiful to look at, but also affect military aircraft navigation and communications and all kinds of
Summarize
happy
your
stuff.
comments, please.
So I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that you have one of these scientists and engineers in the area here. Thank you. If you have any questions about solar, that's something I'm happy to do because I work a lot with heliophysicists and space plasma and aeronomy scientists and geomagnetic specialists. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to new and unfinished business. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution setting the holiday schedule for 2024. Mr. Scala, seconded by Mr. Kaminsky. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Against?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move to appointments. I'll entertain a motion to approve the appointments to the Valley High Operating Commission, McHenry County Board of Health, Regional Planning Commission, and the Board of Health. Ms. Meshes, seconded by Ms. Von Bergen. Any discussion? Ms. Ness?
I was formerly on the Valley High Operating Committee. I am not opposed to John Reiner taking my seat, so I really want to be clear about that. But I do want the members to know that I made a reasonable request for an accommodation so that I would not have to enter Valley High because it's a medical facility, and it was denied by some members of that committee. I'm more concerned about the denial of an accommodation based on a medical situation rather than John being appointed to the committee. So I want to be clear about that. I support John. I also volunteered to go remote to the meeting because we had discussed, Chairman and I, options for not being at the Valley High site. I don't really understand the attachment to the meeting space, but it doesn't matter, because for whatever reason, there's not a willingness to move the meeting to the administrative center. I think when someone, it doesn't matter that it's me, when someone makes a request for a reasonable accommodation tied to a disability, we have a responsibility to honor that. And I don't feel like that was done by the committee. Thank you.
To be clear, this was not my decision.
I
left this up with
absolutely.
Chair Meshes of the committee itself. So.
Yes, and we were in agreement about the steps that we were going to take, and, and I did follow through with what we discussed, and then at a meeting that I wasn't at, it was discussed that they would not move the meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Meshes?
Thank you. I appreciated Member Ness's contributions on Valley High. There was 3 options for Valley High moving forward. One was to move the meetings to the admin building. One was to have Ms. Ness go remote. However, as we know, going remote doesn't count for quorum. That was a great concern of mine. I also feel that going remote, we have not reached the ability to have a full ability to participate when remote. It's hard to see. It's hard to know what's going on in the meeting. So that was my least favorite option of the 3. And then the third option was to have a reassignment. And my understanding was that our reassignment was not going to be feasible at first, but then later I found out it was feasible. And so, given, I do think that there's a value at being at Valley High. I think that there serves a purpose there. The residents can see us, the staff can see us, that there's there's support for us being there. And so I am appreciative that Mr. Reinhardt has an interest in serving on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Hoff?
Yes, as Vice Chair of the Valley High Operating Committee, I would like to speak up on that. I do thank you, John, for stepping up. I think that's really great that you are willing to do that. I also do not see the attachment with meeting at Valley High. In my 18 years of working at long-term care, never once have I seen a board meet on the floor where residents are, and there's a reason for that. Never once have I seen a member of the board be a member of the safety committee. There are IDPH recommendations for who should serve on the safety committee, and a board member is not one of them. We have a director of nursing, we will have administrator, we will have the quality assurance individual. There are about 6 recommendations for who should be on the quality committee. And a board member is not one of them. That's just unheard of. I provided data because I've said a few times, so I thought, okay, I've said a few times that, 34% of deaths during any kind of outbreak occur in congregate living facilities. So this includes not only long-term care, but this includes prisons, it includes dormitories, and it's data, and actually my figures are understated. So it's not so much what we will get from the residents, it's also what we will bring in there. So there is no reason whatsoever for us to be meeting at Valley High. And if someone has a reasonable accommodation, we're talking about ADA here. And I really do think that a reasonable accommodation should be counted toward the quorum. So I would just, like to put that out there. Again, thank you, John, for stepping up and doing this. I know you have 2 other committees that you're serving on, and I'm sure you'll do a good job doing so. But I'd like for you guys to just think about this. Go out there and quiz some other nursing homes out in the area. See where they hold their board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on to the next comment, the item before us is the appointment of John Reinert to the board. I think that this is a valid discussion, but I would like to keep it on topic on whether Mr. Reinert should be appointed or not. So, Ms. Campbell?
Thank you. I think John's willingness to step up is great, and John's going to serve well. He always does. So I don't have an issue with that. I would just make the comment that having a family member who has been severely immunocompromised and what she has had to do in order to just stay safe, I do think that I question how we got here, just because I don't see why a reasonable accommodation couldn't have been met at this point. But not having been involved in all the discussions, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, clerk, could you open the voting, please? Voting is open. Have all voted who wish?
Mr. Shorten, how would you like to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to standing committees, do any committee chairs or liaisons have reports for us tonight? Ms. Altoff?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just to bring the county board up to speed, in the Law and Government Committee, we did discuss the possibility, feasibility of pursuing some type of trailer legislation with regard to additional authority for county boards that potentially hit a threshold of some sort with regard to solar farms, giving us a little bit more oversight. And we did distribute some information that Adam's wonderful department put together. And I will note that there are only 5 solar farms currently under construction, correct? Adam's nodding yes. In addition, of all of the ones that we've approved, I want to remind the board that most of them are leased property. They're not purchased property. They are leased from the existing property owner. So that's another little factoid I'd want you to keep. But I do have a meeting scheduled with Senator Cunningham, who was the original sponsor of the legislation, and I will be keeping the committee apprised as to where we go from here and what's done. I also have reached out to 4 of all of our representatives at the state level, letting them know that this might be something that we're interested in pursuing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Altoff. Ms. Ness?
The McHenry County Housing Authority does not hold a board meeting in July.
Okay. Ms. Greeno?
The Ethics Commission met Wednesday, June 28th at 3 p.m. to review the training modules and the operating procedures for the commission. And I would like to thank Scott Hartman and Peter Austin for the work that they did in clarifying and simplifying the training, and then also going through a great deal of work on exactly how the process would be handled with the flow chart. It was amazing and really helped in the understanding of the process should anyone ever need to entertain it. It was a very successful and productive meeting, and the next meeting will be in October of 2023.
Thank you. Mr. Kearns?
For transportation meeting on July 26th, there is also going to be a variance hearing, which will be a separate issue. That is for the Ringo Road Reception Facility, asking for a variance for an entrance. So I just want to make the members aware of that we'll be going into session for that. Thank you.
Ms. Van Hoff?
Yes, I wanted to do a report on the University of Illinois Extension Program. We did meet April 25th and also on June 27th. That will be our last meeting until September. I would like to encourage you to go to the McHenry County Fair and see them. They're going to be in the 4-H building there, and also Recently, there was a garden walk, I believe that was last Saturday, and the farm scroll will be on September 23rd. There are a couple of more interesting programs that are coming up. I would encourage you to go on their website and see what's going on. But I think we still have some members that have not turned in their FOIA and Open Meetings Act. Not me, I'm up to date on mine. But there's something, they got nicked for that before, so, everyone should get that in. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell?
Just a reminder that the Regional Planning Commission will be meeting again. They meet monthly. It'll be this week at 6 p.m. here in the admin building. They'll also be, as was mentioned last, I guess Thursday, they will be having their own booth at the county fair as well. And that's it, because my other committee didn't meet. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 16. Do any members have items they'd like removed from the routine consent agenda? Mr. Kearns?
16B25.
Mr. Hendricks?
16B21 and 16B214.
B214. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the routine consent agenda, less item 16B21, B25, and B214. Mr. Scala makes the motion. Ms. Altoff seconds. Clerk, could you open the voting, please? Voting is open. Have all voted who wish?
Mr. Shorten, how would you like to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution item 16B21. Mr. Scala, seconded by Mr. Sager. Discussion, Mr. Hendricks?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the last part of the therefore. I have no problem with the contract itself. I just want to get rid of.
Can you pull your mic to yourself?
Yeah, I apologize. I want to make a motion to amend the last part of the, I guess, the affirmative clause, the where be it therefore portion of it. I have no problem with the use of funds to get a internal audit software program that will allow the county to be more efficient in monitoring.
Okay, what would your amendment be?
Just I believe it's not pulling up for me, but I believe it's just the last two sentences regarding the 2024 through 2027.
And what would you want them amended to?
I would want it removed.
Is there a second for that motion? Ms. Greeno? Discussion? Ms. Meshes?
I'm having a very difficult time pulling this up, as Mr. Hendricks just said for himself. So I tried to pull it up on both of the machines, and neither one of them wants to pull it up, so.
What page is it on the agenda packet?
I just
Well,
got it, I
it
just got it now.
just loaded for me.
Page 184 of your packet?
Got it, thanks.
So what do you want to, is it correct, you're wanting to get rid of the be it further resolved? No, it can't be that.
So maybe, I don't want to interrupt, but maybe.
Can you read what you want to? Yeah.
It just pulled up for me.
Okay.
So I'd be asking to remove the first part of the now therefore be resolved, leave the language as is in the first sentence, and then remove the next two sentences, fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2026, which will have 20,000 allocated to the ARPA interest grant budget for annual subscription costs with 5% renewal increases in fiscal year 2027. The software will be assessed if other grant funds can be used for the grants or if a supplemental increase is requested for the department's budget. My real issue with it is twofold. One, it's a one-year contract. It's not a multi-year contract. So I would just like to reevaluate it next year without the funding be automatically, I guess, built into the budget, as well as, frankly, I'm not sure how long we're going to need auditing. If the purpose of the audit software is at least partially for auditing ARPA funds, ironically, I'm not sure what the need may or may not be in fiscal year 2027.
Mr. Scala?
In regard to the amendment proposed, so we did have a discussion with our county auditor, Ms. Teresi, at the finance meeting. And we did talk about that language that was in there about why the funding, why she was requesting that the funding be a part of that. And her reply to that was that because of the ARPA grant money going through that length of time, meaning that the grants will go through the end of year of 2026, she felt that the ARPA dollars would be a good attachment for that. And then the discussion revolved around what happens after 2026. And her comment was that she was hoping that there would either be other grants that would be able to help pay for it, because right now, her comment was that they're doing auditing of grants outside of the audit of ARPA, and that she felt that those grants, as she is spending time working on them, should help pay for the software. And so that was the reason why the timing was as it is currently written. She feels that the software program is something that not only will be utilized by her department, but by the grant, I'll say the entities that utilize the grants, and that if they use the format that is in this software, which I don't quite understand because I haven't seen the software, but evidently there's portals in there that the grant recipients can utilize in order to make the entire system more efficient. So it would align the paperwork in order for her to be able to review it and then for them to keep track of it. So that was her justification for why those wording and why she did what she did. Not justifying it, just giving information for those that weren't at the committee.
No, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Dr. Sager?
Yes, as a member of the Finance Committee, I agree with what Chair Scala just indicated. But I think that it is important for us to understand that certainly the ARPA funds are a unique and distinct group of funds that requires, I think, some additional expertise and some additional time and some additional technology to be able to accommodate the accounting of these funds, which is going to be necessary. So there was a couple of different levels of conversation. The first of those was whether or not it's appropriate to use the interest accrued, and I think that we've had that answer resolved for us. There was a later opinion that came forward to all committee members which indicated that is most appropriate. There's no problems with that. And the second one was for the duration, as has been referenced by colleague Hendricks. But I do believe that we need to understand that there is a lifetime here. There's a lifetime of the ARPA funds. We have to be sure that we are accounting those throughout the lifetime and just beyond those, because everybody is always, when you're counting, reporting, you're looking backwards, you're not looking forward. So we have to look at that. But in looking forward, we're looking at other granting programs that I think can find benefit of this. So I have no problem with the resolution as it exists, and would therefore respectfully ask that we either withdraw the amendments or that we move forward with the original language. Thank you.
Ms. Greeno?
I just want to clarify that the use of this front-end software with the people who are, the entities that are receiving the grant funds, that they be able to submit the information much the way that we're able to go online and pay our property taxes now and see all of the data. And if there's anything, I mean, that's what it's for, right? For the interaction between the auditor and, the program and the recipients. So, so that it would reduce any, the personnel and the tediousness of sending things in via whatever. So.
Ms. Waggoner?
Thank you. Just real quick, how much interest do we get per year on the ballpark? Plenty? I know a number was tossed around at the finance meeting, like 150, something like that a year?
I mean, no, it was more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this isn't taking up all of the interest, is my point. 1 million? Okay, so this is a very small chunk of it. So currently, the auditing department has no software. They have no software that they use to perform their audits unless they're using spreadsheets to track them and Word to write them in. So this is an important tool that they will need to track the multiple audits that are going on, not only within the internal audit in the county, but also the audits with the grant funding. And not only that, it tracks the audit. So if one department is having an audit and there are some findings, then that department can go in and put in their management response. So it's taking time, this will not take time away from the audit department in a lot of the copying, pasting, and putting things in the audits. And it'll create a lot of efficiency. They'll be able to do many more audits within the departments. And I would also think that hopefully the grant recipients would be able to get their money faster as long as they were providing their receipts and all the documentation needed. So I concur with Member Sagar as we either withdraw the amendment or I will be voting no. Thank you.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I support it for this year. My only issue is that we're automatically appropriating funds to future years on a software service that has a one-year contract. I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for it next year or in 2025 if I run and win re-election. But I just don't, I see no reason for us to automatically budget in, what is that, $80,000 plus into the budget for something that is currently going to be renewed every single year. So I understand everybody's point. I think it's a good thing. I would just want to be able to reevaluate it in 1 year.
Ms. Campbell?
So I agree with the other Finance Committee members that I also serve on that board. The committee, we did talk about it quite at length. Every member who has spoken has kind of identified exactly what we were talking about. It is for auditing of the ARPA dollars. Which goes over through 2026. Approving the funding for each of those years now is perfectly appropriate. And I would either vote no on the amendment or ask it to be withdrawn. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a voice vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Nay. Okay, the nays have it. Back to the original motion as presented in your packet. Any discussion? Seeing none. Clerk, could you open the voting, please? Voting's open. Voting is open. Have all voted who wish?
We'll do it manually.
Could you raise your hand if your voting did not open?
We'll ask you, right. So, Ms. Meshes, how would you like to be recorded?
Yes.
And,
I think
think the Kunkel's just, so now we just do Shorten.
Mr. Shorten, how would you like to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 16B25. Mr. Scala, seconded by Ms. Waggoner. Discussion, Mr. Kearns?
Yes, I'm looking at this one, and I don't feel we've solved some of our issues, and I would like to table this to a date set of the August county board meeting.
So you're making a motion to
Table this resolution until
certain,
the
next month.
August meeting. Postpone.
Is there a second for that motion? Ms. Altoff, any discussion on the motion to table? Ms. Ness?
I'm looking at the resolution, and I'm wondering what more information we want besides what's in the resolution. The budget line items clearly delineate where the money came from administrative services being redirected to direct client services. The adjusted budget numbers are there. So I'm not really sure what more information are we looking for to vote on this $114,000.
I'm just looking to postpone it until the next meeting. That's what I'm looking for. I told you I'm uncomfortable with voting for this tonight, and I would like to postpone it.
Okay, anything further? We'll take a voice vote on the motion to postpone to next month's meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against?
Aye.
The motion, the ayes have it. Move on to the next item. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 16B214. Mr. Scala, seconded by Mr. Sager. Discussion, Mr. Hendricks?
Yeah, so I just had a couple questions about this. The first being, we're requesting approximately $1.5 million for the Phase 1 engineering service planning. How much, in, Pete, I don't know if you're the one.
No, I apologize. I don't think I'm a very, very good resource on this.
Okay. So I just wonder, because apparently we did the planning originally, and there was, IDOT came back and said that the project was no longer eligible for federal funds, or was not eligible for federal funds without this
I'm
extension.
sorry, Eric.
This probably would have been a good thing to either bring up at the cow or to contact staff beforehand. I don't think that we have anybody here really prepared to answer those questions.
Okay, understood.
I don't think this one was even pulled at committee, and that's why I'm probably not being able to answer it very well.
Mr. Kearns, you have something to add?
This is the one that that Mr. Hennings applied for and received a grant for. So this is a grant.
No.
Is this the one? I'm looking at it. Yes. Yeah, this is a grant.
Okay, any further discussion? Clerk, could you open the voting, please? Voting is open. Have all voted who wish?
Mr. Shorten, how would you like to be recorded?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have no reports or presentations. Pete, you got a report for us tonight?
Yeah, I'm just following up on Eric and Jim's comment. It is related to that Bull Valley Trail, but it's not the amount that Scott just won. So I think there's more to come on this. So I guess that's good news. The dollars that Scott and his team won, I believe, were closer to 4.9 million. All right, My report, quick. We had a great lunch today. We had about 45 managers and supervisors doing a lunch and learn on some new management techniques that Cheryl hosted. It was awesome. We had our first employee forum this afternoon at the courthouse. Good start to that. Dr. Rain has put in all of your mailboxes first published coroner annual report that I can recall in such a professional format, and he wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. He could not be here tonight, but he's quite proud of that, so please compliment him next time you see him. Also, in your mailbox this evening, I will put a report on solar that Nancy Sheetzel from the Environmental Defenders has prepared for you guys, and it's not related to any specific project, but it's just solar in general, so I'll have that for you in a moment. Alicia just went to the other room and reported that she's got the new strategic plan report card up, so you can take a look at that when you get home. And finally, I just want to let you know that next week I will be out of the office and out of the country completely for all next week, and Scott will be at running the show. So, thank you.
We have full faith and confidence in Mr. Hartman. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Kaminsky. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries.